Hello. Welcome. Hello. Oh, so nice to see you all here. I'm so excited to be with you today. Hi. Say hello. Feel free to drop in. Tell me where you're coming here from. You're in my kitchen today, and wow, I thought that doing the Jasmine Garden would just be easy peasy. And then when I started to think about all of the things that I wanted to share with you, all of a sudden it'll be a quickie turned into, I'm half an hour late and I think it's gonna be worth it because, there's actually a lot to say because the Jasmine Garden, it is a dream. It is my sensitive skin, acne skin, maturing skin, red skin, inflamed skin, ouch, painful skin, give me all the pleasure skin, go-to for a zillion different reasons. And it was really fun over the last days to read your questions and emails and go, wow. Nobody really knows what's inside this, do they? Or all the bajillion ways in which I use it. And so I've been finding as I go throughout my days, and I'm just doing what I do, moving throughout my products, how I live is in my skin. How I live is in interaction with the products that I use. And that might sound a little funny, but that's kind of the point of these lives, is to show you what my real life relationship to products looks like. So the Jasmine Garden, I want to first talk about, okay, so somebody asked me the story of the Jasmine Garden. Where did this come from? Why does it exist? And here's the truth. It was a dare. So years ago, I had a client who ended up being an inspiration for many of the formulas that I put together. In this case, she'd been using a few different things from me for a handful of years, and she had reached out asking if I could make her a mist. And for years, I launched the collection without a mist, without a toner, without any kind of watery essence. And she asked me, I really, really love using a mist in my ritual. Will you give me one? And for a while, I told her no. And part of that was because of my overall philosophy. If I can't make something that is so blow your mind open, astronomically better than anything that's out there, then I don't want to do it. So that keeps the collection small. I really do want to just share heroes with you. And I personally hadn't been using a watermelon element outside of sink water in my own personal ritual up to that point. But I was so adamant about getting the water in, especially with oils, that, and you still hear me, drive down the importance of putting water into your ritual through steam, through shower, through really just saturating your skin, letting the wetness get in there, so that when you introduce oils and all of the good plant nutrients, those are both fat and water soluble. So you have to have both the water element and the fat element in order to get the actual benefit from those ingredients. So this client, she was insistent that by needing to go to another brand or needing to look outside of herself, or she just didn't really love her sink water, that I was depriving her of something integral to her ritual. And she was specific about it. She wanted me to make a mist that was jasmine. And here's my feelings about jasmine. I love real jasmine. The kind where you walk out of a restaurant some late night on some romantic day and you go around the corner and you go, what's that? As you catch just a little whiff coming off of some neighbor's bushes. It's not the in-your-face, cloying, synthetic, heavy, overly mature scent that we sometimes associate with jasmine. And up until that point, I hadn't tried a jasmine product ever in all of my skincare testing that made me swoon in the way that real jasmine does, that fresh jasmine does. It's been raining here this week, and my neighbors have a giant jasmine bush right outside of their house, and it wafts up to my bedroom window when I'm sleeping, and it greets me in the morning. And yesterday, coming home in the rain, I brushed past it on my body, and that smell just wrapped me up like the most delicious dream of all time. So when I had this challenge from the client, she wanted a mist, she wanted that water element in her ritual, and she wanted it to have jasmine. And so I sat with it for months, and I told her, I don't know if I can give you what you're asking for, because I have such a special relationship to jasmine. I want to only do it justice, and frankly, I just don't know where this fits. And so began my mission to create the Jasmine Garden. So over a couple-year process, I tried a billion different things. I sourced so many different varieties of jasmine from all over the world. It was just this time of full immersion in these incredibly glorious petals from a variety of different flowers. Because when I started working on the formula, and once you tell me I can't do something, you better believe I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it the best. And so I just became really, really committed to, let me entertain this thought. Maybe it'll never make it to a store shelf. Maybe it never makes it to our website. Maybe it never becomes a public offering. But can I at least thrill and delight this one client who asked this of me? And so I became obsessed with getting it right. And through doing so, I was using these formulas over and over and over and over again. And suddenly, my skin changed. I didn't expect that. This was really to win a battle of ego where I wanted to do my best job. But I didn't know that it would have such an impact on my own skin. And so what was happening was I decided early on to use a base of not just really beautiful floral waters, and I'll get to the details about those, but also colloidal silver. Because for so many years, I had worked with clients who came to me from severe skin conditions. So before I ever launched my Lindstrom Skin, that was all I did. I just worked with people one-on-one, looking at their individual skin, seeing what the trauma was, what the damage was, what the individual goals and challenges were, and then addressing them through different plants, different minerals, different touch, different rest, different removing of all the things, diet, breath work, all of the things that make the body healthy and whole. And so I started working with the colloidal silver in combination with floral waters. And what I saw was that the cooling, calming, soothing powers of the colloidal silver, when paired with the cellular waters of roses and jasmine and ylang-ylang, were so phenomenal. I was seeing heat go down, I was seeing redness go down, I was seeing inflammation go down, and I was getting this incredible feedback on what it actually felt like to come back into relationship with the skin, to touch the skin. I had so many clients who could never touch their skin who were able to then be able to bring in these cooling, healing elements, and it shifted everything. So I became obsessed with this combination of ingredients. I tried it over and over and over, ended up with something that I was so in love with that when I sent this client the bottle, it wasn't in my ritual anymore. And after a couple of weeks, I noticed that just little things would come back, nothing major, because what it was doing, it wasn't so shifting my ritual that something was broken. It was just bringing out the very best of everything else. And so when I used the blue cocoon and the youth dew with just water, great things, way, way better than just dry. But the blue cocoon and the youth dew in combination with the Jasmine Garden does something so different. You can feel it in your hands. You can really, really feel it on your skin. Anyway, long story, way too long, but I got super excited about sharing that with you because it made me revisit that couple-year period where I thought a mist wasn't necessary and had to backtrack, look at my own self, reevaluate my own ritual, introduce new things, try new things. And I don't do that a lot. My skin still tends sensitive. I don't like introducing new things. I'm a creature of habit. You'll see me use the same thing over and over and over again. But the Jasmine Garden had to come back. And when I realized that I had sent this single client something that shifted my skin too, that you all had to have it. And so there we go. That's where the Jasmine Garden came from. And, I mean, really, it's just, can I show it to you? I'm just gonna show it to you. I think it's such a shame in many ways. So this beautiful black mirror on glass, it's fantastic because it's light protective, but you can't see the prettiness inside. So before I talk about ingredients, I wanna show you. One, if you open this and your tube is brown, that's okay. That's our cacao oleo resin. Also, if you ever have a clog, that's what it is. It's not a problem, there's nothing wrong with it. Reach out to us, care@maylindstrom.com. We'll either get you a new pump or we'll solve the problem. That's what we're good at. So trust us in taking care of you. Reach out anytime you need anything, but just know that that's normal. But I'm showing that to you because usually when you see a mist, the assumption is that it's fragranced water. Look how beautiful this is. It's golden, it's rich with all the plant cellular water, our cacao oleo resin that's fresh made for us in France, the same that goes into the honey mud. This smelled like this. I would just bathe in this, just completely bathe in this. Okay, this is not gonna go to waste. We're gonna come back to this. I'll show it to you in a bit. But I wanted you to see what was inside before we talk about the ingredients. And I'm gonna reference some notes because you asked me specific questions and I wanna answer them. Okay, so first, quick note on the colloidal silver. We get asked about this all the time. Colloidal silver is safe for the skin for topical use, period. It's used on everything from infants in the NICU, it's used for burns, it's used for radiation. It was my go-to for post-cancer therapy, for radiation therapy, for burns, cuts, scars, all kinds of skin trauma. What colloidal silver does is it helps with the tissue healing. So for me, that is what made it my go-to for acne, for psoriasis, for eczema, for dermatitis, for any of the inflammatory, hot, angry conditions of the skin. There is a condition called argyria, which happens if you ingest massive quantities internally of colloidal silver. So this sometimes comes up in the news cycle. It came up during the COVID era because there was people touting colloidal silver to prevent COVID. It doesn't, that's nonsense. It doesn't do that. But for topical use, for the skin, it's been used all throughout history. There's a huge amount of history on it, and it's approved by both the FDA and the EU regulations for use in cosmetics. So lots more on that. If you have questions, again, email us, care@maylindstrom.com. Always happy to go deeper with you, but it's so good. It really is just one of my absolute favorites of all time. I'll never give it up, never give it up. Okay. So I wanted to address that one, and then the rose specifically. We actually moved to a new rose supplier the end of last year, and the rose that we get now is so unbelievable. It's the actual cellular water from the rose. So typically when you're making a hydrosol, hydrosols are usually the byproduct, or at least the co-product of making an essential oil, basically the leftovers from the distillation process. Our distiller makes our rose hydrosol specifically for us from the fresh plant. And so it contains all of the active compounds that are so good for the skin. And specifically, I mean, rose is amazing. Acne, eczema, dermatitis, all of that same, it's the anti-inflammatory properties that are so useful, really helpful for both the texture, for graceful aging, just the buoyancy of the skin, and of course, it's a dream scent-wise. Jasmine and ylang ylang came up a lot, and that, I'm thirsty today and have a little bit of a throat thing, bear with me. So jasmine, while fantastic for the skin, especially for dry skin, dehydrated skin. My main love with jasmine is for its scent, but not just for what it does for the nose, which is pleasurable, but what it does for the brain. So it's studied because it releases the serotonin, which is considered the happy hormone. And so they study all of this. There's incredible charts and graphs and things that show the movement of brain activity in relationship to essential oils. So there's a whole field of experts on that. I'm not an expert. I'm just a very, very delighted recipient of the benefits of these plants. So I study it for the skin, what it does for the tissue, what it does for redness, what it does for healing, what it does for cellular regeneration, for elasticity. That's where my core interest is, or at least that's where my foundation is. Perhaps the pleasure is a little bit more on the surface these days. Lang Lang, also so good for rough and dry skin, great for environmental damage, great for cells. And the cacao, again, that's where most of this color comes from. Some of it's from the cellular water itself, but our fresh cacao oleoresin. There's some pictures of that on the website and throughout. Make sure you go to lindstrom.com, and the ingredients tab on the Jasmine Gardens page, you can watch a whole behind the scenes of how this is made, and you can see the actual cacao oleoresin and our blending process. It's really pretty, and if I'm ever able to let you into our world in person or in some way show you into our studio, it's the best when we're making the Jasmine Garden. All of the scents are in the air. It fills the whole room. Really, really incredible. So there's cacao. That's great for increasing blood flow. Really, really good for visible aging process. Just, again, getting the blood flow going, getting everything moving. And all the antioxidants, of course. Can I tell you something about vanilla? So vanilla is... I feel like vanilla is an ingredient that was exciting a few decades ago and has all of the price attached to the shortage of now. And nobody really understands why I keep it. So vanilla, less than 1% of vanilla that's used in cooking and used in cosmetics, fragrance, less than 1% is even real vanilla. That means more than 99% of it is synthetic. Actual, true vanilla has incredible benefits for the skin, incredible benefits for the mood, incredible benefits for, I love it so much. I think it's one of the best things ever. I insist on continuing to buy it. It's also in the Clean Dirt and the Problem Solver, and it just adds this other level of nourishment, and the good fatty acids that are in there are fantastic. But how it's used, it's also, there's a word I can't pronounce, but it's the component that affects the mood in vanilla that I think is really interesting as well. So more information on that. Our ingredients page at lindstrom.com goes into it more. You can send me an email. I'll send you all the novels I've written on all of these things. But today I wanted to at least acknowledge the beauty that's inside the glass. And now, your questions were kind of in the same area for most. What is May's favorite way to use the Jasmine Garden, and how many times in one routine? Can we get a bigger bottle? Amen. 250 or 250 mil, please. Also, this is 100 mil. So it's bigger than a lot. There's a lot of 30 and 50 mils on the market. This is 100. I would love to do a 200. 200 is what the Happy Galaxy is, for comparison. These next to each other, so it's double the size. So I don't know, maybe we'll do a special one for all of you who, like me, just drink those bottles so quickly. Get some super-sized ones out. I want to spray this all the time. Can I overdo it on the spraying? How many sprays is too many? There's 100 different versions of that question. Can you use this oil before oil cleansing without having to wet your face with water? So that question confused me a little bit, because typically when I do oil cleansing, I go in on dry skin and the wet comes after. So what I'm going to do is we're just gonna see all the ways now, I think. I think that's the plan. Okay, I'm gonna come back here. When I wake up in the morning, my day begins right away, right here. Before I've even left the bed, I almost always start by misting my skin with the Jasmine Garden, just like that. And then the blue cocoon, a little under the eyes, under the nostrils, lips, excess on the chest. Just this, to first begin the day. So if I was in bed, just woken up again, it's mist skin gently, and then just those core dry areas, get the blue cocoon on them. So I do that no matter what. I do that even if I'm going to have another ritual immediately following, if I'm going to do a full cleanse, if I'm going to have a shower, if I'm going to do a treatment, it doesn't matter. Almost always when I first wake up, I've got crusties in my eyes, my skin feels tight, everything feels a little dull, and I'm not fully awake yet. So the wake up part is actually my favorite part of the Jasmine Garden. It's part of coming into the day. And so to just wake up, still a little bit sleepy, just have these sweet, silvery floral kisses to welcome you in. It turns on your sense of smell. It turns on, you can feel the coolness, the evaporation from your skin. There's just all of these moments that happen right then. So it's just like a little mini meditation. It doesn't have to be much. You don't have to use all of the bottle. I can be a little excessive. I know, I can't help it. I love it. But just a little bit to bring you into yourself. And then you get up, you go about your day. So depending on what kind of a day it is for my skin, and again, I never know. So I have kind of my rhythm that I follow as I go through my week. Usually it's the clean dirt every 2 or 3 days, alternating with the problem solver a couple times a week. Usually do that in the evening. The mornings I usually alternate between the clean dirt and the honey mud, or days when I do nothing. So what I'm going to demonstrate for you today, I'm just going to show you all of the options in a row, and how I make that decision. So let's just say I had my first morning mist, blue cocoon moment, and then I either go to the shower or the sink, and I decide, what am I gonna do with my skin today? So always, always, always wash your hands. And with clean hands, I just do a little check-in. And sometimes this is visual, I'm looking, I'm getting close. And sometimes it's touch, it's fingertips. And so what I'm feeling for is what my skin might need today. So if I graze my fingers like this, and I'm noticing lots of bumpiness or texture, then it might be a morning where I sneak in the problem solver, or I hop in the shower and I do the clean dirt and get all that dead skin shed, move some of that congestion around, get everything woken up. Might feel actually pretty smooth and silky and good. And if that's the case, maybe I'm just looking for a little bit of a glow boost or just maintenance. So then I might reach for the honey mud. If it's like somewhere in between, maybe I could use some activity. Perhaps I'll do a blend of the honey mud and something else, the honey mud and the clean dirt, or I could do the honey mud and the problem solver. That's really nice. I like to do the clean dirt and the pendulum potion. So there's just a little moment where you're in your body, you've woken yourself up at the Jasmine Garden, you're paying attention, you're in your senses. Now you're physically in your fingertips, you're touching your skin. What do I need? Let's say today is a day where I wake up sensitive or in a hurry, and I'm not going to have a full cleanse. Great, not a problem. So a lot of mornings look like that. Actually, I was telling my husband just last night that probably the most common thing that I do, both morning and evening, and that maybe I don't admit, is I skip everything except the blue cocoon and the Jasmine Garden. So that little moment that you saw as my wake up, that could be my wake up half the days of the week. It could be half of my nights of the week. And that's just because I don't always need the super thorough cleanse. Also, I can't always tolerate the super thorough cleanse. Depends on the state of my own skin right now. So listen to that. I often will alternate these days of super mellow skincare with the more powerhouse treatments. So I might have a morning where it's just a mist with the Jasmine Garden, a touch of the blue cocoon, but that night I'm doing the problem solver. And then in the morning I wake up and I do the clean dirt, and maybe that night I'm just doing a mist of the Jasmine Garden and a bit of the blue cocoon again. So lots of ways to find your best rhythm. If I am just doing a mist in the blue cocoon, I can move on to my day. Next step up from that might mean the crusties in the eyes are a little much. Maybe I'm feeling a little sweaty. Definitely want to have a nice rinse, but I don't want to do a full cleanse. Great, don't have to. You can just splash your face with water. And if you're doing this at the sink, I like to rinse my face for long enough, just like I described in the shower, where you're feeling your skin get soft. So I won't probably do it as long with you on the camera as I would it by myself, but I want to show you at least a little bit. So I prefer to do this in the shower, but like the rest of you, I have a life that has to be gotten to sometimes, and so sometimes at the sink is the way to go. So you just splash, and I've described this as like outside skin and inside skin. Outside skin is the skin you walk around with all day. It's almost like having a sheet of paper or something on you. There's no getting in. It can feel like there's a barrier there. And what I'm looking for is before you bring in any kind of cleanser or before you introduce your oils, before you add anything to your skin, first rinse it clean and then stay with it until your outside skin starts to get a little mushy. You could also think about it like a kitchen sponge, just a classic, blue kitchen sponge where it's kind of crispy and hard until it gets soft and hydrated. So when you rinse, think of yourself as that kitchen sponge, and you don't want to put anything on or do any touch until you soften. So that's it. And it can be just water. So some mornings, that might be it. You're going to go with just water. Leave your skin completely soaking wet. Then you've got the blue cocoon, or maybe this one. We'll just go with the youth dew this time for this simple, super light morning. And often that can be, I gotta show you. I always feel like the youth dew sings a little bit. It's this happy golden color. Okay, so that's just gonna go in. You'll see when I put on oils, I usually do a quick sweep over the main areas just to get it onto the skin, and then I go back and I spend my time to go in and actually massage it. And again, there's just water from the sink on my face and the youth dew all on its own. And then I would complete with more of the Jasmine Garden. And the reason you do this last is so that it can work as a penetration enhancer. The combination of the water, so you have the water on your skin to begin with, and then you have the water at the end and the oil in the middle. And when you get your fingers in there and you mush it all in and really get yourself going with the massage, you'll feel it break down differently in your fingertips. It goes from feeling like a clear oil glide, slip, 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 to something else. Just feel it. Okay, and that could be that morning. So level 1 is just Jasmine Garden, maybe touch a blue cocoon where you need it, no water whatsoever. Next level up of intensity is maybe you're just splashing with water, getting off the grub from the night, little crusties out of your eyes, and then you begin again with some oils and some freshness. If you want to be more advanced with that, then you bring in a cleanser. So that's where you decide, do I want the pendulum potion? Perhaps. Do I want the honey mud? Perhaps. I think we're gonna go with the honey mud because I'm gonna show you some things. If we were doing, let's say it's a morning where you want the honey mud, there's choices there too. You can use it as a mask, or you can use it as a cleanser. Since we're gonna say this is morning, we're gonna go in as a cleanser. So I'm going to wet my skin again. And I've got some Eucalyptus in there, so it's gonna be slightly different than if I was starting with a clean slate. But pretend I have oily skin. It'd be like this. So to use the honey mud as a cleanser, you would have, again, your skin wet from the sink. You can go right in there. I like to use a good amount, a nice fat dollop between the fingers. And when you put the honey mud onto wet skin, you'll see it turns right away to this silky milk. So it's a very different texture than if you did it on dry skin. I'm just gonna do this a quick cleanse. This one's really, really nice for a quick morning too. Don't forget to notice the parts that feel nice, parts that smell good. This time is for you. You're gonna spend 1, 2, 5, 10, 30 minutes here taking care of yourself every day. What if we made it just astronomically pleasurable? Okay. I would rinse a little longer if I didn't have you all here, but we're gonna go with that. And I'm going to show you the honey mud as a mask so you can see the difference on the dry skin. I'm going to dry my face. This is pretty much the only time you'll ever see me put a towel to my face, which is if I've shown you something wet and now I want to be dry. So the honey mud on dry skin. Again, go back in. If you were doing a mask with the honey mud, you would take your portion, dry skin, big sweep, big sweep, big sweep, big sweep, get it everywhere. And you'll see the texture is completely different over the dry skin. So to mask, distribute this around. And you want it, again, to be generous enough that when you are sliding it, you're not pulling your skin. It should be thick enough that you can actually feel it glide, feel it move. If it's not, add a little bit more. You don't need to be pulling and tugging at your skin, and giving yourself a nice rich layer concentrates all the ingredients and all the blood flow in one spot. So if you were doing a honey mud mask, often I like to leave this on for a while. You can leave it on for a few minutes, have a little quickie facial, but you could also leave this on for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you want to do. Some people will experience tingling or a little bit of flushing with the honey mud. This is normal. It contains a natural salicylic acid that comes from wintergreen extract. Really cool. It's the first natural salicylic acid that I've worked with and am aware of, and it's phenomenal. But a little bit of pinking can happen for some people. That's normal. If it happens for you, you might want to do this in the evening. Also, just know that that happens most commonly in the first few uses, and if you're new to any kind of acids, and generally goes away for almost everybody after the first few uses, or diminishes a lot. And lots more on that. Watch the live on the honey mud. Make sure to read your welcome emails that we send post-purchase, and you'll be covered there. So I'm showing you this honey mud mask in the middle of this Jasmine Garden live because after you've had it on for as long as you want, let's say that you are feeling a little bit flushed, or you're just wanting to go back in and be more involved with it again. Sometimes I like to do that. Sometimes I like to go about my life and let the mask do what it does. But it can also feel really good to get in there and work with that slip, especially if you have congestion or areas where you want to work it in a little bit. So in that case, if you're flushing, or if you just want to turn this from its pudding texture into silkiness, watch. As soon as water hits, or in this case, the Jasmine Garden, it turns to a milk. You see? So immediately you go from this pudding texture, which dries down slightly, to a little bit of a tacky feeling, which can be awesome for tapping and getting your circulation going that way. But then over here, we've got it wet, and so it's all silky milky. Okay, I want it wet everywhere now. So I'll spread that around. And now we've got an extra silver floral water infused treatment going on. Oh, it smells so good when you get the blends going. All right. While that does what it does, oh, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna keep adding. We've got time. While this does its thing, I'm going to show you. A lot of you ask, can you use the Jasmine Garden as the water element when mixing the clean dirt and the problem solver? Yes, super yes. More power to you. Live up your fancy self. I will most often mix my treatments using water from the sink or water from the shower. Perfect. There's nothing wrong with that at all, at all. But if you're feeling fancy, if you want that extra dose of all of the skin food goodness that's in the Jasmine Garden, get it on your face anytime you can. And in the in the problem solver and the clean dirt, it gets to work there with the other ingredients for a bit. And so the benefits will deliver. It feels amazing, smells amazing. You'll never feel more fancy than when you're mixing your fresh treatment mask up using the Jasmine Garden. So you don't have to do it, but I'm going to show you because you asked. So I'm going to just go ahead and add the clean dirt. I'm going to use a ½ tablespoon today, which is my preferred if I'm going to actually do my face and neck, which I always try to. So level spoon. Also, these spoons, this was just a purchase off of Amazon. This was years ago. You can find them. I will make you a measuring spoon someday. I promise. I'm trying to figure out how to not have it cost $900 while having fantastic materials and good makers. So, you know, we'll get there. Until then, use a measuring spoon from your kitchen. It doesn't matter what it looks like. If you can get a pretty gold one, it feels nice. The rest is bonus. Okay, ½ teaspoon into the bowl. And then, if you're using your Jasmine Garden in a measured way, don't fight with the nozzle, just take it off. Fill your spoon. We're gonna go equal parts into the bowl. And now, I'm going to mix this together. It takes just a few seconds. Can you hear it? Look at this texture. It's bubbly, fizzy, amazingness. So good. And you can smell the jasmine. I got it all over my nose. Perfect. Okay. Since we're at the sink, I'm just going to show you like this. You can treat the clean dirt as you would the problem solver and just brush it right on. And I'm going directly over the honey mud. So a couple of things to keep in mind. The honey mud is an active product. The clean dirt is an active product. Together, they will be amplified. So I know that my skin is in a great spot for this today. And what I want you to do every time is to ask your skin where it is today. And if this is a day for the honey mud and the clean dirt and the problem solver all layered up, woo, join me. And if this is a day where you're just misting with the Jasmine Garden and doing some massage with the blue cocoon, maybe even on just your neck or your hands or your feet or wherever can take your touch, then beautiful. Don't go where it's not for you. And as you are learning your skin, please do be in touch with us. Our Care Bears are renowned for a reason. And I have spent the last decade building up a safe space for you to land with us. So please do take advantage of that. Sometimes I see you freaking out on the internet when you've used a lot of actives and used them all together and mixed this and that and the other thing. And it can be a little bit intense, and I know that. So don't do this alone. Please let us support you and assist you and be with you. We mean it for real. Okay. I've got the clean dirt on there. I just went over the top. You can do that if you want to. You can rinse in between. You can mix them together in the same bowl. Again, there are advantages and disadvantages to all those things. So send us an email. We'll help you work out the best routine for you. I'm going I was going to show you the problem solver after this, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to tell you that if this was the problem solver, we could do the same thing that we're about to do. I'm just going to leave it with the clean dirt today so that I can rinse this and go into the next thing. Because what I want to show you, I'll just leave this on while I show you this, is so I've made give me 1 second. Many of you asked about how to make the Jasmine Garden ice treatment cubes. So in the in-between, we're gonna let this work its magic for just a little bit. I'm going to show you what I do. So for a long time, I was just using a regular ice cube tray. And you can absolutely do that. Highly recommend that. Totally fine, especially if you're using your treatment fairly soon. So if you're doing that, you can just take the Jasmine Garden again. You can take the top right off. And as I showed you, when you pour it into this clear, you can see exactly what's inside. So pretty. All the goodness is in there. So this is what I want to get on your skin. And I want it really, really on your skin. I don't want it perfuming the air in some dreamy cloud. I want it to feed all of the nutrients, all of the antioxidant goodness, all of the good skin cellular support right in. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pour it. I got these cute little containers. I will have to see where I got them from. It doesn't really matter. I've got kids, so I use these to pack lunches, and they're great for holding just like little sauces or condiments or whatever in a lunchbox, but you can make a little ice cube in them, or just use your ice cube tray, fill one of the little containers, but put as much in there as will allow you to hold it in your fingers after it comes out. So, 1 second. So I've got one that I made earlier, and I'm just going to put some hot water into a bowl. And I'm going to drop this frozen cube into the bowl of hot water so that I can soften it up so that it slides right out of there. So while that's softening up, I will rinse. And just so you know what's happening as you're following along, this is feeling tingly. I can tell that I had the honey mud on first. It's slightly more intense than usual for me. At this stage, I rarely get much heat or much flushing from the honey mud. In my early sessions, I got a ton. I have all these videos of my bright, bright red face. If you ever have this experience and you're feeling nervous, send me an email. I'll show you some things that look scary for me. And after, when you come out of that, assuming you don't freak out and scrub your face and rub it and cover it with a billion different things, it's glorious. There's so much good there. But again, don't overdo it. If you're using lots of actives, please reach out to us so we can adapt for you. Everything's feeling tingly. Everything's feeling warm. I'm going to rinse super good here. And then I'm going to show you what I do with that cube. So rinsing at the sink, not my favorite. Why? It's messy. When you do this, make sure to keep your eyes closed. When you're in the shower, you can just go directly under the stream and it rinses in seconds. It's so much easier. At the sink, you have to take a lot of splashes. Around the hairline, into the ears. Again, all areas that in the shower, effortless. And at the sink, you have to make a greater effort. There's never been a better argument for rinsing in the shower. There you go. Even here. And clean. All the little bits. And what's nice about having your skin wet is you really do feel every last little grain, every last little everything. It's why I always want you to touch your skin while it's wet. It's more comfortable, but it's also more accurate. Just seeing what's there. Okay. Okay, so now there's a choice. You can either go in directly with your treatment cubes, or you can do the blue cocoon first. For me, I rotate. If my skin is feeling really hot, and really active, either from sun exposure or because I just did exfoliation or a treatment mask or something, everything's all warmed up, it can be nice to go directly in. If your skin is feeling immediately dry, if you're someone who the second you rinse your skin has to get moisture on it immediately, that's typically me. Then you would keep the skin completely wet as you have it. Go in with the Jasmine Garden and or the blue cocoon. I'm going to go in with a half portion. So just barely covering the index finger, nothing else, because I want to put a little bit of moisture in there, but I also want to follow this treatment with more. So just a bit to go around the most sensitive spots, around the eyes, around the nose, little bit of protection, and then You go in and get your sweet little cube. And you'll see I have some from dropping it into the water. There's extra in here. So I can refreeze this and use it. If you're only using the cube yourself, not sharing it, you can save it. This keeps it from being wasted. Every drop can be used here. So, treatment cubes. These are shockingly cold, so don't overdo it. Again, if you have really sensitive skin, it can be too much for you. So play with this and play with the amount that works for you. Direct contact can feel amazing. If it doesn't, then drip some into your palm and use the icy waters. Okay, so if you're going in with the ice cube, again, skin is a little bit wet, has a little bit of blue cocoon on the delicate spots. Land here. Breathe. I like to start right in the center of the forehead. It's so cold. It feels like the most incredible reset. And I don't like cold. I don't like cold pretty much ever. But this, the center of my forehead, if I am stressed out, if I am overwhelmed, if I am charged up emotionally, physically, in any way, a little bit of this Jasmine Garden treatment cube frozen in the center of my forehead, these icy silver waters dripping from my face. It's one of the most grounding sensations. Puts me immediately back into my body. So I'm making a figure 8 around my eyes, cheeks, forehead, around the full face, neck. This in the middle of the summer feels insane. Following workouts, following the gym, following a facial, anything that's a little extra intense. And you can go until the entire cube is melted. You can also go just until your skin has been nicely saturated. Now that I have these icy waters on my skin, I want to press them in. And just remember, you're getting all of the benefits from the rose cellular water, the jasmine, lang lang, colloidal silver, cacao, vanilla. Amazing. So good. So good. And now, skin is left wet, cool, calm, heavenly. I'm going to complete with my normal daytime portion. Blue cocoon, youth dew, and often, just so you can see all the things, when I'm finishing, put this back on, and you don't have to do this because I'm covered in Jasmine Garden already, but so that you see my favorite trio always, the blue cocoon, the youth dew, the Jasmine Garden, all is one. Palms pressed together, melt into one glorious fluid potion. Distribute. Make space. And that's it. That's the evolution of the day. So using the Jasmine Garden as a tool, as its own thing, replacing cleansing altogether for those sensitive days or those busy days, adding to your other rituals, blending with the clean dirt, blending with the problem solver, using it to keep the problem solver hydrated. If you don't want the problem solver to dry, I typically like my full treatments to dry. But if you only have a few minutes and you're doing a quick mini facial, or your skin is feeling really, really dry and sensitive and you don't want your treatments to dry out, you can use the Jasmine Garden to keep it hydrated. And in general, just reach for the Jasmine Garden anywhere where you're wanting to put more moisture into your skin, where you're wanting to bring down the heat and redness. I have clients who pick. If you're a picker, keep the Jasmine Garden with you at all times. Put one in your purse, put it in your desk, put it in your car. Bring it with you. We have the minis at our cart. Anytime you're shopping Lindstrom.com, full-size orders ship with your gift of 2 deluxe minis. You can choose the Jasmine Garden. They come in these cute little minis. They work fantastic. They're great for short travels and great to keep even just in your pocket throughout the day. So instead of going and picking at your skin, messing with a breakout, feeling a flare-up come on, keep your hands off your face. Anytime you get that sensation, just stop and pause and miss and reset. It breaks the habit. It breaks the moment, brings you back. When you're camping, if you're in the hospital, if you're traveling, you're on a road trip, you're at a festival, you're spending the night somewhere, whatever the case, if you have the Jasmine Garden with you and a little mini of the blue cocoon or the youth dew, you can go anywhere and do anything. It's basically how that feels for me and my skin, and hopefully it is a gift to yours too. Let's see if there was anything else here. Yeah, airplane for all of you who travel. Jasmine Garden on the airplane. The full size can fit inside of a Ziploc, can go right in your carry-on. This is totally fine for TSA. 100 milliliters, perfectly good. So you don't even need the mini. The mini's for your pocket. The full size is for everywhere else all the time. I'm gonna do a quick scan before we wrap up here. There are a lot, so I'm going to miss things for sure. If there's any more specific questions, you can drop them now until we get cut off. And you can always send us a DM or email us care@maylindstrom.com. The comments and messages and everything that you've left here today won't show up in the replay. So in kindness to your community, please follow up anything that you shared here, or if you have personal stories or tips to share, the ways you use the Jasmine Garden, love the Jasmine Garden, please do come back and drop your messages in the replay so we can all benefit from your gifts. And as always, if these lives are helpful for you or just feel good to you and you want to bring somebody in to feel this way with you, please share. Please tell your friends. We're built by you and we want you here. We want your people here. I'm gonna go to the very end. Any big questions unanswered? There's gonna be too much for me to pick through. So again, more questions, I'm here. I'm gonna do my best to come every week, talk about all the things. This was the final product in our collection of lives, so now you can go back and watch them all if you missed any, revisit the ones that still feel a little bit trickier, a little bit stickier, that you want to go deeper on. There's so many ways to mix and match and play, and hopefully this is just the beginning of your explorations and our explorations together. I can't wait to take you deeper. Thank you. Thank you again. Have the most beautiful day.